So it's been enough time since visiting Africa to hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So we're gonna have a little story time. I feel like it's only right that I kind of give you guys the background of why I wanted to even go to Africa for my birthday. So let's go. Back in 2018, Anthony and I went to Europe, our first European country, which was Madrid, Spain. And when we were there, I remember going into the McDonald's and I was talking to one of the cashiers, which was what we would call here in America a black woman. And she kind of like asked me what my origin was. Oh, she asked me where I was from. So I told her, I was like, oh, okay, I'm from New York. I'm New York City, you know, mad hype or whatever. And her response was, no, what's your origin? So I was like, I was kind of like starstruck, like what? Like what's my origin? So in that moment, I really didn't have an answer for her because like I didn't necessarily know what country I belonged to specifically. So in that moment, I was just kind of like, damn, can I really not answer a question regarding myself? Like it felt terrible. So I remember just kind of answering her and just saying like, oh, I'm from New York City, America, like that. But of course, in the back of my mind, it was so many other thoughts going through. So in short, I went to ask her like, okay, well, where are you from? You know, like, cause you're questioning me. And she's like, oh, I'm from Mali. And other girls like, oh, I'm from Nigeria. And in that moment, I thought it was so beautiful that they had a country that they necessarily belong to, or they had a country that they can name as home. So of course we proceed on our trip. We get our food, we eat, and we go on. But from that point forth, I was on a quest to just finding out my identity. I felt like I was having an identity crisis at a tender age. I don't want to say 22 or 23. And it just made me want to know so much more about my history, my DNA, my genetics, where I come from, and who I am, and why I look the way I look, and why things are the way that they are for me specifically. So fast forward, I went home. I ordered the Ancestry DNA test, of course, because how else was the quickest way to find out those answers? Shout out to technology, because back in the day, this probably would have been something I had to just brush off. But I did my ancestry and found out that West Africa was a good chunk of where my DNA came from. Of course, I had other parts in there. I had some European DNA as well, which I learned through this trip in Africa that it was most likely a result of my ancestors or our ancestors being raped by white European slave masters and impregnated. So that DNA is in there, but trickle down real, like a small percentage, not a lot, but yeah, history just doesn't lie. Anywho, I did ancestry, got my results, and after receiving the results and finding out that majority of my DNA was in West Africa, I was like, oh, I gotta go there. For my 25th birthday, I have to go to Africa. But unfortunately, 2020 was when I turned 25, and my whole birthday trip to Africa was canceled. I couldn't go because of COVID-19, and it was just kind of like a whole, not only a huge disappointment, but also just a like huge stop to my, you know, what I felt like a stop to my quest or my journey to finding out more about myself, my history, etc. But God doesn't make any mistakes. Of course, throughout the weight of me finding out, or the weight of going through COVID-19 and not being able to go to Africa, I learned so much. I met so many people. I met so many people from Nigeria, from like Africa and West African countries, who like taught me things, recommended books to me, taught me about the tribes, and helped me further along my research. So on that three-year time period where I had to pretty much wait until I planned my trip again, I learned so much. It was so many things, so many people that I met that just confirmed and helped me understand things better, and just kind of contribute to the identity crisis that I was experiencing. Now, fast forward, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm researching, I'm gathering all this information, because like I said, that question just really threw me off guard, and I was like, for whatever reason, the next generation of my family will not ever feel the way that I did, because it was not only a terrible feeling, but I also just wanted to kind of have that foundation laid so that the next generation can say, oh, well, I'm African American, born in America, of course, but my ancestors are from Nigeria or Senegal or Ghana or wherever, or just West Africa as a whole. I think it's really important that we know where we come from, because that's just part of knowing who we are as people and our identity. So that's a little synopsis as to why I wanted to go to Africa for my birthday, why this trip meant so much, and why the whole Gorée Island and everything that you guys will see in the following clips in this video was vital. I hope not to offend or make anyone feel uncomfortable, but this is just all true facts. These are all history. This is all history of Black Americans, and I think it's vital that we all know, because at the end of the day, as a people, how do we continue to walk the world and enjoy it and just exist without knowing where we come from or just our true identity? So that is not my little story time. I just wanted to kind of give you guys that background information, because I didn't want to just pop up in Africa just because. It was so many more layers to why I wanted to go there. But in short, my identity crisis came full circle. Your girl know where she's from. She gets it. She understands. I feel like I have the story down packed to continue to teach the next generation or whomever else ever needs to know these things. And the end all be all, I don't feel so estranged anymore. I learned so much about the colonization of so many countries by European countries, and just the whole synopsis as to why we speak the languages we speak, why we look the way we look, why we act the way we do, how we talk, etc. Like, us humans just literally just keep evolving and adapting to the areas that we grow in or we live in. And at the end of the day, the earth belongs to all of us as humans. So as you guys see in my title, I lost 10 pounds in 3 days. And I know that this is true because whenever I lose weight, my chin just reappears. So as you can see, on day 1, my chin is rounded, and by day 3, my chin was pointed. So yeah, I believe that this happened because of how hot it was out there, and then the grade of the food. The food is fresh. The food is like no preservatives, no chemicals. Everything tastes exactly like what it said it was. Minimal like salt and more of like herbs and seasonings. So I think essentially my body just had a really good detox, and my skin was flourishing by day 3. I lost weight. My chin reappeared. Your girl was just back. So it's been enough time back home since visiting Africa to have processed the trip, because it was a lot to unfold, a lot to learn, and a lot to gather. And I didn't want to come on YouTube until I knew I had it all straight in my head on my part. So this little clip is going to be simply about how we perceived our trip to Africa, my opinion, his opinions, and opinions that we both share. So yeah, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, I'll start off by saying it was definitely a very enlightening trip. It changes your perspectives on, number one, how we live our life here in the States, and then also back in Africa. But I enjoyed the trip. It was very good, very enlightening. I got to see the locals, how they live, and carry on, every single day. And to go and visit Gorée Island, as they call it, the door of no return, that last point where the slaves were led through that door and to never come back to their home island or where they were from again. It was just very impactful, in our guide as well. It was very impactful, and our tour guide did a very good job of illustrating that and driving that, that point home, really what occurred there. But everybody was very nice and hospitable, and you definitely felt the love there. But also the hustle and bustle as well, too. Everybody still the hustle still exists there, just like it does right here in the States. So But overall, it was a great experience. I think everybody should experience it at least one point in their life because it gives you a good perspective on what happened, how we got here in the United States, and then how life still continues on there and here as well. So overall, it was a good trip.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said. I think, like he said, it's very important that we go back. It's low-key like a pilgrimage almost, because it's just like, it really just taught the story in a way that is so hard to receive in its entirety here, and where we call home, America. All the information was there. Any questions I had for our tour guide, he had the answer. Like, he literally was just like so knowledgeable, and he's like, well, this happened, that happened this year. And it's not even like he's a history teacher or anything like that. He literally just knows the history. And it makes sense, especially when Africans come to America and they look at us as African Americans as like, lost or, almost foolish for not identifying with our African DNA, which makes sense because we don't know it. But also it's less like they know the story and we don't. So it's like that weird disposition there is simply because it's like they know something we don't, and if they try to tell us, we probably don't even understand or not even in a place to get it because we don't feel a relation to them. But of course my favorite part of the trip was just being immersed in the culture, seeing how they live their lives, looking at the locals, the villages, and all the similarities, the animals there. Like, even though it was so much different than here in America, it was still so many similarities as well. Like, I loved the lion walk so much. That was my favorite, of course. And even when we did the ATVs along the beach, and I was like super emotional, like that was a key moment for me too. And I think also it just kind of like gave me I don't know, it gave like kind of like sealed the deal, and me knowing that like my journey, my quest has finally come to its climax, or it's the point where I was just like, I get it, I got there. And now from here on out, any trip to Africa will not only be continuing to be enlightening and resourceful and learning, but also I can enjoy it, and I like it's now a part of me now that I get and I understand. And I don't know, I'm just so excited to visit the rest of the continent, see what else that it has to offer, and it truly 100% felt like the motherland. So yeah, the other cities that we got to experience and see was 100% beautiful. I will 100% recommend that you go, as well as see the continent as a whole. And like I said, like I loved everything about it. I loved everything about it. And we 100% do that. So, anything else you got to say to the folks?
No, I think that's it. I think we summed it all up pretty quick.
So until next time, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, like, comment, subscribe, etc. Peace.